Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast. Today we're talking about a new update coming to PlayStation Plus. Dinosaurs are cool again, and we now know just how long a wizard can run. All this and everything else that happened this week in Geek.
Love ya. Get home safe, guys. Peace.
Hey, it's Nate, and if you're joining us for the first time, we are Geekcentric, a podcast celebrating the world of movies, TV shows, toys, collectibles, gaming, and all things geek-centric. Joining me for This Week in Geek, he went to the doctor and discovered that his runtime is also shorter than we expected. It's Justin Lawrence.
Does that mean I'm going to die soon? Oh my
No, I meant like running, like you can't run very far. I don't know. I haven't gone for a run with you. I probably can't run as fast as you.
I don't think I could run fast either, so it's okay.
No.
I'm I'm mediocre at that. So.
Well, how's it
How are
going,
ya?
man? I'm doing good. I wanted to know before we kind of dive into the show here. You know, we just had the lovely experience of April Fools yet again in an age where we really don't need that level of stress and disappointment in our lives. But I wanted to ask you, was there anything that fooled you last Friday?
Oh man, they tried so hard with some of the stories that
Yeah.
they were trying to pull. Like I just couldn't believe that they went there. I think I didn't record any, but there were some casting news, and I think one of them is that we will 100% see Wolverine, like the new Wolverine in this new Doctor Strange movie.
Oh, really?
Confirmed. And I'm like, it's not confirmed. Get out of here with your nonsense. But yeah, they went wild on April 1st. They took liberty of that. I saw you even had fun with that as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I posted a little joke that I might already have been watching, the multiverse. Sadly, that is not true. It is an April Fool's Day joke. But I saw a bunch. I know there was one. I'm really excited for, as of this recording, the new Lego, the Skywalker Saga comes out tomorrow, and they put out. The developers put out a tweet saying that it was delayed indefinitely again, and everyone like freaked out. I didn't freak out because I knew I'd already seen people like reviewing it and stuff. There's no way. But for me, I'm usually pretty good about it, but it's usually the first thing in the morning that gets me. Like, it's just the first thing where I'm waking up and I forgot that it's April Fool's Day. So huge shout out to Good Mythical Morning. Have you ever watched any Good Mythical Morning, Justin?
I have not. No.
They're like a variety morning show on YouTube, and they do games and stuff, usually involving like gross food and really like sort of just really creative games and things like that. And when they do have a new game, they always take the time to explain the rules. And so, I'm sitting there eating my breakfast, and I knew that like they had to explain the rules for this game that they were calling like "We Spend $1 Million at the Dollar Store" or something like that, and they get a lot of comments for like sometimes their rules being they're very like complicated. So I'm sitting having my breakfast and I'm watching them explain the rules for this game in a 25-minute long video, and at about minute 8 of them still explaining the rules, I realized what was going on. They just spent the entire 25 minutes explaining random rules. It's honestly so incredible. I encourage anyone listening to go check out the April 1st episode of Good Mythical Morning, because they knocked it out of the park. And I just had to stop halfway through my breakfast, and I was like, these how they got me. They got me.
That's good.
Yeah, man.
That's great.
Yeah. But you know what? As much as there was a lot of fake news, there was also some real news that I think we should dig into.
It's all about the details.
All right, so before we get to some more news from around the Geekiverse, I wanted to take a moment to reflect and recognize that the legendary Estelle Harris has left us. She died at the age of 93. I've got a report here from Matt Grobar of Deadline, who writes, Estelle Harris, who played George Costanza's mother, Estelle, on the iconic NBC sitcom Seinfeld, died Saturday evening of natural causes in Palm Desert, California, just weeks before her 94th birthday. In a quote, her son said, "It is with great remorse and sadness to announce that Estelle Harris has passed on this evening at 6:25 p.m. Glenn Harris, who held her as she drew her final breath, goes on to say, her kindness, passion, sensitivity, humor, empathy, and love were practically unrivaled, and she will be terribly missed by all those who knew her. Beyond her infamous role in Seinfeld, she was also known to book over 25 national TV spots per year, and she also was featured in, get ready for this, Futurama, The Looney Tunes Show, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, iCarly, ER, Mind of Mencia, Phil of the Future, Dave the Barbarian, Kim Possible, The Proud Family, House of Mouse, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Godzilla the Series, The Wild Thornberries, Hercules, Sybil, Living Single, Moesha, The Mask, Nightstand, Star Trek Voyager, The Tick, Aladdin, Good Advice, Mad About You, Married with Children, and of course, how I think I probably remember her the most is as the voice of Mrs. Potato Head in Pixar's Toy Story franchise. Harris is survived by a total of 3 children, as well as 3 grandsons and a great-grandson. Plans for a memorial have not yet been disclosed. So obviously, you know, this is sad news, and our thoughts and prayers go out to the entire Harris family. But what a legacy Estelle leaves behind, you know? Like, just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, she as you've, listed out there, she's had a lengthy career, but she will forever be George Costanza's mother. And that was just the iconic role. She obviously did a lot of voice work though.
Oh yeah,
based on that list. Yeah, it's crazy to think.
I mean, she had such an incredible voice that was so original, right? Like,
oh yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense, right? But I don't know. I feel like for everyone, will always remember her as George's mom.
Oh yeah. I mean, I just think back, like, one of my favorite lines that she says is when she comes in, and I'm trying to remember what she catches George doing. Something awful, but she's like, I come home and I see my son treating his body like an amusement park. Like, it's so fantastic. She's so incredible, and I think, seeing this is just making me want to just watch all of her scenes in Seinfeld again and rewatch Toy Story 2 and things like that.
Yeah, I probably will rewatch some of her moments. I love the one when she finds out that the woman that she was talking to when the phone lines were crossed.
Yeah,
she thought she was getting advice from a Chinese woman.
Yeah,
and she wasn't Chinese. She was a white woman, and she was like, "I was stooped. I'm not falling for it." It was some great comedy acting. You can see it's always hard. It was always hard for them to kind of keep a straight face in those moments because they would lose it, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I think, again, it's just one of those things where, like, she's such a professional. Learning about, like, I didn't even know this. Learning about the fact that she would do like 25 international TV spots a year, like that's huge. Like, just like international TV spots. So, I think she, she's in a better place now. But obviously, she's going to be missed. And again, our thoughts and prayers go out to her entire family and anyone who knew her personally. Let's keep going. This first news story that we have, also a bit of sort of sad news as well from within the industry. Bruce Willis to retire from acting following aphasia diagnosis. This in a write-up from James White from Empire Online, who writes, Bruce Willis's family has announced that the veteran actor is to retire from his career following the diagnosis of the cognitive brain disorder known as aphasia. The condition, which leads to the loss of the ability to understand or express speech, was discovered after Willis had been having some health issues. Taking to social media, his wife, Demi Moore, and his children shared the same post across their accounts. Quote, "To Bruce's amazing supporters, as a family, we wanted to share that our beloved Bruce has been experiencing some health issues and is recently being diagnosed with aphasia, which is impacting his cognitive abilities. As a result of this, and with much consideration, Bruce is stepping away from the career that has meant so much to him. Continuing, this is a really challenging time for our family, and we are so appreciative of your continued love, compassion, and support. The family statement then says, we are moving through this as a strong family unit and wanted to bring his fans in because we know how much he means to you as you do to him. As Bruce always says, live it up, and together we plan to do just that. The 67-year-old had been working in movies and TV for a while when he first gained attention as the dramatic David Addison opposite Sybil Shepherd's Maddie in the romantic drama series Moonlighting. But I think we know him most from his iconic role where he really became an action star in Die Hard. And, of course, he's worked with a swath of directors, including M. Night Shyamalan, Quentin Tarantino, Terry Gilliam. Justin, I mean, obviously this is, again, more sad news out of the industry, but it does seem like this is for the best and that it's for his health.
Yeah, it's better that it happens now rather than happening in some very unfortunate circumstance. And it looks like he has the support of his family, obviously, given the fact that they all shared the post and they're going to be there for him. So it's good that he has that support. He has a system in place that's going to be able to help him. But you're right. At times like this, it's like really recalling a lot of his movies. Now, I got to say, a lot of the movies that he had done as of recently, they do feel kind of, for the purpose of just still being in movies, they're not as iconic as something like Fifth Element or Pulp Fiction or
right.
I really loved him in The Whole Nine Yards with Matthew Perry, a very dark comedy story. It's absolutely fantastic. If you have not seen it, watch it. You can skip the whole 10 yards, but the whole 9 yards is fantastic. And again, The Last Boy Scout, him and Marlon Wayans, it was old movie that I remember watching with my uncle a long time ago. Like, he built a career as being this action star. So and then he transitioned. He obviously transitioned when he started getting into some more comedic roles and some more dramatized roles. I think Sixth Sense is obviously something that he'll ever be remembered for. Him and Haley Joel Osment. And Haley Joel Osment actually put out a tweet as well, a really heartfelt tweet, kind of acknowledging, I think it was a tweet, but he made a statement just acknowledging what Bruce Willis did for him at that young age, when they were working so closely together. So
yeah, I mean, I'll admit that I, aside from some of the movies you already mentioned, as well as like movies like Unbreakable, and Sin City, I've not seen every single movie that he's been in. I haven't even seen every single Die Hard that he's been in.
For sure,
but I will say again, this is another situation where you look at his IMDb and you're just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. The man worked, and he
was an actor. He was invested. He was invested in his practice, and he did a really good job. So they're not all winners. Some of them are going to be stinkers, but he was committed to his practice. Yeah,
very cool. Yeah, I mean, I think my favorite role was him in Rugrats Go Wild as the voice of Spike. No, I'm just kidding. But yes, to obviously to the entire family, we wish you all the best. And I think, I like the aspect that they're going to just kind of just spend more time together. You know what I mean? I think that's the best thing that you can do whenever this sort of thing hits you, is to just be with your family and the people that care about you and love you most, as opposed to continuing to work. And he's left behind an incredible legacy as an actor. It's we'll just have to wait and see kind of what he does outside of the acting space. So okay, let's keep on moving on here to our next news story. PlayStation officially announces all new PlayStation Plus subscription with multiple tiers and retro games. This news brought to us by Joe Screbbles at IGN, who reports Sony has finally revealed its Xbox Game Pass competitor in an all-new PlayStation Plus that brings together the existing PS Plus and PS Now into a 3-tier subscription service that includes up to 700 games and access to retro games at the top tier. It'll be open for some markets in June and roll out worldwide regionally after that. After months of reports and even longer being speculated about, Sony finally revealed the new service as of today, as of the writing of this article. And it consists of 3 tiers: PlayStation Plus Essential, PlayStation Plus Extra, and PlayStation Plus Premium. I'm glad they didn't do PlayStation Plus Plus. As part of the move, PS Now will be closed down with members migrated to the premium tier with no change to prices at launch. So I'm going to kind of give you a breakdown, Justin, of these 3 tiers. So stick with me on this one. Okay. So PlayStation Plus Essential is the same PlayStation Plus service that currently exists. No changes to current pricing. It includes, again, the 2 monthly downloadable games, discounts, saved game cloud storage, and online multiplayer for most games. So that's PlayStation Essential. But then we've got PlayStation Plus Extra, which is the medium tier. This tier includes all the same benefits as Essential and adds a catalog of around 400 PS4 and PS5 games that can be downloaded at any time while you're a member. Obviously, most of those will be PS4 games because there's not a ton of PS5 games already out. It includes first-party and third-party games, but no new exclusives will launch into the service. This is obviously a little bit different than Xbox Game Pass, where all first-party titles released by Microsoft are on that service at launch. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. PlayStation Plus Extra is going to cost $14.99 monthly, $39.99 quarterly, and $99.99 yearly, with no Canadian prices announced at this time. So that's just American pricing. And then lastly, we've got PlayStation Plus Premium, which includes everything from essentials and extras, as well as it adds 340 extra games to the catalog, including PS1, PS2, and PSP games for streaming and downloading. PS3 games will also be available, but only to stream. Streaming can be carried out on a PS4, PS5, and PC. And premium members will also receive limited time trials of some games. In the US, that service will cost $17.99, $17.99 a month, $49.99 quarterly, and $119.99 yearly. Again, with no Canadian prices announced, you'd have to assume it'll be similar. But Justin, is this a good enough value here? Do you think you want to subscribe to this new PS Plus in June, or are you going to stick with what you have?
Well, I think I'm going to upgrade for sure. I just don't know if I'll do PlayStation Plus Extra or Premium. I guess I got to see the games in Premium, the retro games.
Yeah.
Because that might be the, the deciding factor for me. I do like some of the retro games. But that being said, I do think that it's nice that they've created a 3-tier system. And at least with this middle tier, if you're wanting to play more current games, by the sounds of it, PS4 and, as you said, PS5, even though that there's not a lot of PS5 games out at this moment. Yeah. I think that does give that advantage. So you can really, you could harness the existing hardware that you have. It's interesting too with PlayStation Premium, like you could stream it. So like you could go into a browser and stream it. So you'd have to ensure that you have a gaming PC though to do this, right? Like you couldn't just do this on some basic bitch PC. Like, well,
it'll be, what I mean that's kind of the beauty of streaming these, Justin, is that it does kind of do all the processing in the cloud, right? So the idea being that, like, I already know Game Pass, they're trying to get that on as many things that they possibly can, whether that be through a browser, an app, or however they possibly can on Microsoft's side. So to see Sony and PlayStation kind of going that route, I think it will be interesting. But I think you nailed something in your initial sort of thought process there, which is it's about the games. Right, I've personally tested PS Now before, which is their current streaming service where you can stream PS2 and PS3 games and such, and it's fine. But I'm just worried that, like, for me, I'm gonna get excited to play these retro games and then never actually play them. So I think I kind of would want to go in maybe for like the monthly version of the premium tier, not the yearly version, because I just don't know how much I'll actually get invested in it unless they really show us these games. Like we need to see what they're talking about.
Yeah, we need to see what games that are an option. And even just going back to the idea of streaming, if you are going to be streaming, I guess PS1, PS2 games and PSP games, streaming those would probably be better. It's this PS3 idea that makes me, that those probably have some processing power that needs to run those games. But that being said, I totally agree with you. I think that the nostalgia of playing a retro game is fun a few times, but
Yeah.
when you really look at what you have at your disposal in terms of like a PS5, are you going to play some old game on that?
Right.
You could be playing a top tier game. It's true. Like I with
Yeah.
the Switch, I have gotten into playing some of the retro NES and SNES games, and they're great. They're tons of fun. But then again, at the same time, it's just like it's not really the best experience for that console and for that system. So now it's like I love Ollie Ollie World. You know what I mean? Like I love the games that have these really nice, robust graphics. Again, maybe not necessarily graphics, but they're just more up to date. Do you know what I mean? I think that's the biggest thing. So while it hits a nostalgia beat, it's just, to your point, it doesn't necessarily stick for too long, right?
Right. Well, I mean, I think it's the difference of going back and playing these games in their original format and going back and playing a remastered version of these games, right? You're
Exactly.
so used to the controls and the mechanics that we get out of modern gaming that to go back to these games that you have this love for, but then sort of fall off. But I will say, launching with the service, we also have Death Stranding, God of War, Marvel's Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Mortal Kombat 11, and Returnal, which I actually haven't even dived into or bought Returnal yet. So I'm kind of excited for that aspect as well. And it does sound like, the idea of sort of building out a PS5, even if it's just third party at a later time sort of library, similar to Game Pass. I think PS4 is really going to potentially be the strongest draw if they can manage to keep a huge roster of those games, because I know there's still a lot of PS4 games that people would play and want to play, so it'll be interesting to see. But again, I think it's ridiculous that their marketing they should have launched this with a hype reel of games. Like if I saw Sly Cooper, Resistance, there's an indie darling called Critter Crunch that I can't find anywhere to play, at least on a console, that I really would love to. If they just showed a bunch of these games in a hype reel to announce this service, it seems crazy to me that they just did this very cut and dry sort of like, here's what it is, it's going to cost more. There you go. We'll see you in June.
Yeah, I agree. I guess maybe the reality is that they haven't maybe flushed out what games and what they're going to be able to. Like, I think a hype reel will come, but just maybe not yet. This is a sort of soft launch, if you will, of what this new branding is going to be. But I think in your initial sort of breakdown and discussion, you were mentioning, games being simultaneously launched on Xbox, both, physical and on digital. Does this allow them to do that, or are they going to even do that? Like, is that something that they could integrate into that premium, or are they going to do like an ultra premium? You know what I mean? Where it's like you pay for that.
Well, it's interesting that you said that, because gamesindustry.biz, they have an article up where they actually spoke to Jim Ryan, who's the CEO of PlayStation, and his quote says, where the investment delivers success, we feel like we're in a good virtuous cycle with the studios, where the investment delivers success, which enables yet more investment, which delivers yet more success. We like that cycle, and we think that gamers like that cycle. So ultimately what he's saying here, and if you kind of go through it and check out the article, he does talk about the aspect that PlayStation feels like they are the premium top tier. Their games at the prices that they're at will sell no matter what. And so and he's right. Like, he's absolutely right. I just spent over $100 to play Horizon on PlayStation, when again, something like Halo I got just through Game Pass. I feel like until PlayStation is at a place where they need to make that shift, then build this platform up in the current state that it's in and get it to that place. And if they end up having to pull a trigger and say, you know what, now we are going to do first part, then boom, you can if they fall behind. But it's just a matter of if they fall behind, because I don't know if they will, given the games that are coming out for the console. So
I agree. I think that the love for PlayStation really does stem from the physicality of the games, right? Like, if they, like you said, if it's a company thing that they decide to do where they can make that shift, they'll do it when they're ready to.
Right. Well, let's kind of move into our next news story here. Doctor Strange 2 runtime revealed, and it's way shorter than expected. I don't know if it was way shorter than, but anyways, this is a story brought to us by Brandon Lewis from Screen Rant, who reports, with tickets for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness going on sale April 6th, which would that be the day that you're listening to this?
Yeah. The day that you're listening to
if
this.
you haven't already gotten your tickets by now.
When this episode comes out. Yeah, exactly.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Hopefully you did. Listings on Fandango have revealed the upcoming film's runtime. According to a now debunked ticket listing, the sequel was originally reported to have a runtime of nearly 2.5 hours, which would have made it one of the longest films in the entirety of the MCU. But now it seems this won't be the case. Multiverse of Madness has an official runtime of 2 hours and 6 minutes. The length of the film may come as a surprise to some, as the previous two MCU movies had fairly long run times. The Eternals clocked in at 2 hours and 30 minutes, and Spider-Man No Way Home came in at 2 hours and 28 minutes. Although, long, the falsely reported 2.5 hour runtime seemed appropriate due to the nature of the Multiverse of Madness's story. The film will cover a broad and complex range of multiple realities and deal with different versions of various places and people. A variety of cameos and guest appearances have been hinted at, thus making a longer runtime for the film fairly believable. But with the shorter runtime now confirmed, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is setting itself up to be packed to the brim. So, Justin, does this worry you at all, or do you think they can pull off what they need given this shorter runtime?
Well, I'll tell you this: when I saw this article, I was definitely one of those people that was like, "What? That doesn't make any sense." But maybe it doesn't need that 2.5 hours. Is where I've come to realize, right? Because the reality is that, if this picks up right after Spider-Man, then Spider-Man's done all the groundwork.
Yeah.
We just get into conflict number 2. And, and maybe what this movie is really meant to do is really be a grand introduction into the concept of the multiverse, with key characters sort of in that section of the MCU, kind of what that looks like. So I'm interested to see why. I don't think that it's been cut. Like, people are flying off the handle here thinking that it's, it means the movie is going to suffer. I'm like, I don't know. It might just, I never really got off the top of my head. I was just like, that's crazy though, that it's a lot shorter than anticipated, as you said.
Yeah, I think it's, you nailed it. The groundwork has been laid. Stick with me here. I think this might sound silly, but even the aspect of traversing the multiverse the way that they do by jumping through portals is going to allow them to fit so much in. We've got the rules established for us as to why a character can be in the Comertage Library 1 second and then New York in the next second, right? We have the understanding and we know how, random characters can show up out of nowhere, and that won't feel jarring. We don't need an origin story in this movie necessarily, right? Obviously, we are going to need some exposition, some setup for what's going on, for what's happening to the world around Doctor Strange. But I think, honestly, it's the only real origin story that they need to potentially give us is a little bit of what's going on with America Chavez, where she comes from. But I think they could even breeze through that and then give her a richer backstory in another movie or in a series on Disney Plus, right? Like, I don't think they need to go too hard on that. And I think that's what really affords them the ability that they can just jump in head first. The setup has already been done.
Yeah, that 100%. And I also think, though, that maybe what this is supposed to set up, what this is meant to set up, is more about the threat that won't get concluded probably in this movie, that will linger, that will continue, right? Like, again, I think that in the fashion of what MCU does with their storytelling, I think this is a purposeful movie to help explain more of what we've already seen, and to your point, without the need of excessive exposition, to kind of bring it all in and make it make sense, if you will.
Totally. And I feel like Benedict Cumberbatch, Kevin Feige at the beginning, we reported on this as well. We didn't report on it. We read a report, but we
read someone else's report days after it was reported.
But he called Benedict Cumberbatch the anchor of the MCU. Yes. So very much in kind of what you're saying. Does this movie need to resolve everything that it's going to introduce? Absolutely not. It's a setup movie. It's coming off of the end portion of a Spider-Man movie, right? And then it's going to introduce this brand new sort of threat and what's really going to be kind of coming through with Phase 4. So I'm not really worried about it at all. I think if anything, it might actually do the movie a bit better, right? And we don't need to kind of over-explain things. It'll kind of push. Maybe it did already push them to kind of make this story that's going to be more condensed and easier to sort of just fly through. And I'm stoked for that. I don't think these movies need to take a terrible amount of time in setting things up, and I think sometimes they even suffer for it. So
yeah, for sure. I'm an optimistic when it comes to it. It's again, if this thing was riddled with more maybe behind the scenes issues in terms of production, then I'd be concerned. But at this point, there's nothing to really worry about. I think it'll be interesting to see, as you said, if this benefits and helps the movie, or if it benedicts. Stupid.
No, that was great. That's a joke I would have made. If Kevin was here, he'd be rolling his eyes. Well, anyways, that is it for our news. Very, obviously a little bit of sad news, and then pretty much a very light news week from within the Geekosphere. But let's take some time. Let's jump into trailer time.
It's trailer time.
All right, so our first trailer is one that we actually wanted to cover a little while ago, but of course the Oscars got in the way and just slapped the opportunity out of our face. I did. There we go. I did want to talk about it because it does look really funny, and I kind of sent it to Justin, and we had a good chuckle over it. So this trailer is for Killing It from showrunners Dan Gore and Luke Del Tredici. The description reads as follows: a rags to riches sitcom about class and capitalism. Craig Foster is a bank security guard living in Miami and struggling to make ends meet, and has grand plans to become an entrepreneur, but has no way of getting his ideas off the ground. But a chance encounter with Jillian, a down-on-her-luck driver for a ride-hailing service, introduces him to the wild world of state-sponsored python hunting, and he decides to go all in and make his American dreams come true. This is starring Craig Robinson, Claudia O'Doherty, Belle Battle, Scott MacArthur, Stephanie Nogueras, Wyatt Walter, and Jet Miller, and is streaming exclusively on Peacock starting April 14th. Justin, what did you think of the trailer for Killing It?
Man, this trailer looks so much fun, and the character dynamic between Claudia and Craig, it just seems like they're going to have such a sort of fun back and forth dynamic. So I don't know, like Peacock is really kind of killing it right now with the content they put out. They have
no pun intended.
Just wrapped. Well, no, the pun is intended.
Oh, okay.
They have been killing it because seriously, like they just wrapped Bel Air. They have Joe versus Carol out right now, and they have this coming out shortly. So there's some good content that they're producing for their.
Yeah, man, I'm a huge Craig Robinson fan. Obviously his days in The Office as Daryl Philbin, or Brooklyn Nine-Nine as Doug Judy. I just think seeing him lead a show is going to be really, really fun. And Claudia O'Doherty, shout out to her as well. Excellent in. I just watched her as Mary Bonnet in Our Flag Means Death.
Yeah,
she is she is hilarious in that as well. So I know she's going to be, again, as you said, they're going to be a really good dynamic duo. And I love how she says the line, "I'm tough, can't you hear my rugged Australian accent?" And she's just so little. And man, I also loved the line where he's like, his friend's like, "What about Nemo's mom from Finding Nemo? You think she got what was coming to her?" And Craig's like, we don't know Nemo's mom before the movie started. Like, I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to it as well. Definitely check out the trailer. The whole aspect of like python hunting is
hilarious.
It's hilarious.
So, and it's a cool, like, that was a niche like 90s that they would call, I think, creature features, if I'm not mistaken. Having snakes and large animals like featured in movies.
Yeah.
There was that gimmick. So in the trailer, you'll see at the end that obvious CGI'd massive python snake, and you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if they're ever going to get that big. That looks like it could probably be a dream sequence, if anything, because it's a massive.
But and I just like the idea that she's in a ride. She does a ride service driver, and you know, I think that aspect as well, because it really plays off that comedic idea of like when you sit in a ride share, you know, car and an Uber, right, and you're just like, please don't talk to me. Please don't talk to me. Please don't talk to me. Right. And she's just like, I'm not one of those lame drivers who doesn't talk to you. Like,
I think the show's going to have a lot of heart too, man. Like, I think it'll have some real heart to it, because they're going to be in it together.
Yeah.
And they're both striving to make whatever it is that they can for different purposes, but they're in it together. So I think that's going to, you know, lend itself to some dramedy, if you will.
Well, and obviously he's got, you know, his relationship with his daughter, and he's going through a divorce, right? And so I definitely can see that. And Craig Robinson has those chops. I've seen him in dramatic sides as well.
For sure.
The only downside I have with this whole thing, though, is how are we going to watch it in Canada? Because Peacock is not in... Is it in Canada?
It's on Showcase.
Okay, and Showcase I can stream through Crave.
No, through Stack TV.
Stack TV. Okay. All right. Well, I'll figure it out. And hopefully I'll be able to watch the show when it comes out, streaming on Peacock April 14th. Let's move on to our next trailer here. This one I thought was really intriguing. This actually dropped really recently. The Quest, brought to the screen by Academy Award-winning and Emmy-winning teams behind Lord of the Rings, The Amazing Race, and Queer Eye is a sentence I never thought I would say in my life. The Quest is a groundbreaking, immersive hybrid competition series that drops 8 real-life teenagers, or in this show they're called paladins, into the fantastical fictional world of Everrealm, where they must save a kingdom by fulfilling an ancient prophecy. Throughout 8 episodes, the series will see these heroes immersed in a fantasy world come to life, complete with a castle, royals, ethereal fates, and all forms of mystical creatures, as well as a sorceress intent on destruction and power. This is going to be starring Mel Merabian, Elliot Ross, Emily Gately, Harry Aspinwall, and Kerwin Thompson. And of course, this is streaming on Disney Plus on May 11th. Justin, what did you think of The Quest?
Well, color me interested.
Right.
What they're basically proposing is a game show with a narrative fictional twist to it, where it's almost like being in an escape room. It's all manufactured to be a period of time or to be in a certain place, and basically applying it to that. I think it's interesting, but you're right, man. When I saw the names, Amazing Race, Lord of the Rings, and Queer Eye all show up, I was like, damn, they got some diversity of like genres on this thing. Because my wife is actually rewatching Amazing Race, and I've caught a few episodes with her. Yeah. And it's crazy to think about how that show really operated, about just to do these missions and stuff like that. And if you take that and you apply it to what they're doing here, and a very, what looks to be lured out fictional story that has mysticism, and it's a real adventure. I think kids are going to love it. I think parents are going to love it too. Yeah,
it does look like it's kind of trying to meet that in between market. I do think it's like, I'm not going to lie. At first, I actually thought it was a real fictional fantasy show that had like, you know, crappy voice dubbing over top. Like Disney recently has been introducing more international content with terrible English dubs over the top, and these kids kept covering their mouths in certain moments at the beginning of the trailer, and like the camera kept cutting away from them during the trailer. So like I legit thought this was one of those films, and I wasn't too intrigued. But then the moment you sort of realize, no, this is a reality show,
Yeah.
It's dope. And shout out to the cinematographer Mark Cole, who has clearly done an excellent job shooting this show to make it look so cinematic. I think the fact that it does bring together, as you said, Lord of the Rings, Amazing Race, Queer Eye, and the creators of it is what makes it intriguing. It is funny, though, that the trailer says, like, nothing you've ever seen before, because this is actually a revival of a show called The Quest from 2014 that was the same idea. And actually, I looked back at some footage of it, and honestly, the production value looked pretty dope. Like, I kind of want to go back and watch that one as well. That one had adults as the paladins instead of kids for this one, so it's going to be interesting kind of what they do. But it reminded me a lot of the same idea as like Murderville from earlier this year,
exactly.
right? On Netflix.
Exactly.
But this is just their sort of focus on the fantasy genre instead of the cop genre.
For sure. And it's about teenagers that are going to have to do teamwork and work together. And, you know, it is really amazing the leaps and bounds that these reality shows have made in a cinematography capacity, you know. But what looks really interesting is that there's going to be moments where they're story related for us, the audience, to understand and give context. And then it's going to cut to, I feel like, these kids doing these games and puzzles with their guides that are obviously in character. Like, that's the other thing. Like, it all really does fit. So there's this, you see the familiarity of reality TV show doc style, but then you see these epic cinematic scopes and obviously crazy ass visuals that are going to be there. And you know that if the kids are there seeing that, it's going to take them out. Like, there's that moment in the trailer where there's a triangle that's glowing blue and they're like, oh, look. And it has this ray of light. And you either know one of two things. It's like that thing was probably just glowing blue and they added the ray of light later. Yeah. Or, you know, they engineered and put in the brightest friggin' light that could create that. And it's more
probably
likely
the former.
It's the former for sure, right? Like, it's definitely a CGI thing. And it looks like they're going to help tell the story. I'm very interested in this. I think I'll actually check this out to see how it all pans out.
Yeah, I think I'll check out the first episode. I think from the idea of the storyline, though, it is going to be interesting to see if I feel like it's going to be rather light. You know what I mean? I feel like it's going to be not like sort of something where you're like, oh, I got to find out what happens next week. The thing that'll get you to come back is will my favorite person make it through the entire way? Will my team win, or will so we'll have to wait and see. That's again May 11th on Disney Plus, 8 episode series. And I'm definitely going to check it out. I don't know if we'll get a chance to review it or what that's going to look like, but we'll have to wait and see. But Justin, I need to bring up this final trailer here. This is something that I am so freaking excited for. Prehistoric Planet from the executive producer Jon Favreau and the producers of Planet Earth. Director Jon Favreau has teamed up with BBC Studios' Natural History Unit to produce Prehistoric Planet, which will use CGI to tell the story of the dinosaurs over the last 66 million years. Get this, with narration by the frickin' GOAT himself, David motherfucking Attenborough. This is coming out on May 23rd with a new episode each day on Apple TV Plus. Justin, Prehistoric Planet, like, come on.
Dude, it looks like it basically looks like, as you pitched it, you know, Planet Earth, but with dinosaurs. Yeah. I think it's funny that Jon Favreau is behind this. You know, he's got his fingers in George Lucas's property. Now he's gonna jump over here and do dinosaurs and maybe, you know, have some fun in the Spielberg world, if you will.
Sure, yeah.
Less of the narrative Hollywood story, but more of the sort of documentary. Like, I like this idea of trying to basically create a documentary out of what it would have been like, based on the advancements in graphics, right, and the ability to tell that story. Like, I think it's going to be interesting. What interests me the most about this is actually the behind the scenes, like what they're going to be able to do to render this.
Yeah, well, I mean, they are using the exact same tech. Looking at a few articles here, they are going to be using the exact same tech as Favreau used for The Jungle Book and for the live-action Lion King movies. So it is going to be really interesting to see, and it is kind of cool to also note that, like, not only do these have the updated technology, but they're also incorporating the latest findings from paleontologists
Of the dinosaurs,
So it's
yeah.
right. So it's going to be stuff that is very recently discovered, which I think is what makes it super exciting for people that have been maybe fans of dinosaurs for a long time. I know for myself, like, dude, I was obsessed with dinosaurs growing up, and we would get these documentaries even then, but when I was watching them in the early 2000s, the CGI was always at a place that never lived up to like the environments that they shot them in. So to see the the quality of this production from, of what they're doing, to have, David Attenborough himself narrate the entire thing. And dude, did you see who's doing the music?
Ludwig?
No. Guess again. Come
John
on.
Williams? No.
No. I mean, that would be pretty cool too. But he just won an Oscar.
Zimmer?
Hans
Zimmer?
Mother flippin' Zimmer, dude. Hans Zimmer.
That's crazy.
Is doing the music for this documentary dinosaur show. And I'm so elated by it. You have to check out this trailer if you haven't already. Again, watching this on Apple TV Plus in full 4K HDR on an OLED, dude. Let's go. Let's go. I'm so ready.
Yeah, it looks great. I'll definitely be checking it out and maybe showing my nephew. Hopefully he'll be like shocked. He'll think they're real.
Yeah, well, I would. I mean, again, I think it's just so cool to see how far the technology's come. I think back to the movie Dinosaur, which is one of my favorite, very sort of underrated Disney movies, but honestly, it's like one of those documentaries grew up and met me in my life where I'm at now, and I'm so stoked. It's such a gift. Look forward to us talking a little bit more about this in the future. But that is it for trailer time. We're gonna come to the end of the show here. We're going a little longer than normal, but we just had so much to say. So before we kind of wrap things up, Justin, let's quickly shout out some what you been watching, what you been reading, what you been doing, what you.
Well, I have been reading actually. I have been enjoying my new iPad Mini with a little Marvel Unlimited on it. So it's a great little device for reading comics, and the comics that I've been reading are Ms. Marvel and Moon Knight at the moment. I'm kind of going back and forth between those two. Yeah. I'm just falling in love with reading these comics again and seeing the sort of imagination of the story, and also knowing that they're bringing these characters obviously into live action. You can't help but obviously draw some of the parallels of what maybe could be going on and what's going to happen, but you also get to really see how the MCU is so different from these comics and how they are going to treat things differently. The comic universe is its own universe. The cinematic universe, is its own universe. So it's not about necessarily having it being carbon copy of that. Even just reading Moon Knight and knowing what's happening, I can see. I would think that it's very clear that the comic series is more of an inspiration for this show rather than it being a direct carbon copy of it. So I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying that I'm learning another side of this hero, of this character, and I'm really excited that I'm getting sort of reintroduced to Ms. Marvel. I'm only 7 issues into that one. With Moon Knight, I've crushed about like a good chunk of the 2016 run from Jeff Lemire, and I think it's Greg Smallwood does the artwork. The design, the work of this comic book series is so well done. Each world feels a little different inside of it. So it's a lot of fun to read, and especially when you're experiencing it in a digital form. And Ms. Marvel, man, I love the artwork in Ms. Marvel.
Oh, dude.
I didn't realize it transitioned at a certain point, and the artwork kind of changed halfway through the series, but it still feels influenced from what came before it. So it's a lot of fun to be reading these things, and I don't know, I should be reading more. Honestly, I probably should be reading more. So it's a good thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. I was I think we kind of had a very similar inspiration. I'm also reading comic books on an iPad Mini as well, and I jumped into G. Willow Wilson's run of Miss Marvel as well from her 2015 to 2019 run. And yeah, man, like I think the most impressive thing that I found with a lot of these comics is their readability. The way that they flow from dialogue box to dialogue box, and one of, shout out to the, either whether you go with Marvel Unlimited or just their Marvel app, but they have this guided mode that I'm just in love with, because it literally
it's so
zooms
cinematic.
in. Right, yeah, and it's like, I was telling Justin off air, like, there's a moment where a character will be talking about something that they're looking at, and they're building it up, and you kind of swipe to the right, and then it zooms out to show you the reveal of that character, which you wouldn't get on a normal comic. But I also just love as well, like, kind of getting into comics that, like, the Marvel comic universe, they just have all the liberty to do whatever they want. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be random characters showing up, like where we're talking about Multiverse of Madness, and we're getting hyped for random characters to show up in this multiverse.
Yeah,
it's just normal in comics. They show up. Hey, I'm here. Hi. Random characters will appear, and you're just like, what? Like I don't know, man. It's interesting to see just how many liberties they can take, because they don't have to pay an actor. They don't have to, worry about too much in terms of continuity. Yeah, man. Well, definitely check out the Marvel app and the Marvel Unlimited app. I know DC also just launched, at least in Canada now, their DC Infinity or DC Infinite app as well. So definitely check that out if you want to read some Batman. Well, that's it for This Week in Geek. We hope you enjoyed This Week in Geek. And if you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts. And if you want to write into your show with your thoughts on this week's news or any of the content we cover, well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to toss that right on over to the old dinosaur himself, Justin, to let you know how you can reach us.
I resent that. I'm still youthful. My back still hurts, though. Whatever.
Yeah, I could have called you a hairy dinosaur if I was being more historically accurate. So.
True. That is very true. Well, they can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com, or on Twitter at geekcentricyt, or on Instagram at wearegeekcentric.
Oh, I guess I should have said feathery. That would have made more sense. Feathery. Yeah. We also have a ton of other great episodes covering the latest in movies, TV shows, and games, including our recent spoiler-free reviews for Judd Apatow's The Bubble, and our spoiler-free review for Everything Everywhere All at Once, which as of this recording, I still have not seen, but I know Kevin and Justin broke it down and gave their thoughts. And speaking of Everything Everywhere All at Once, Justin, you actually, just a couple hours ago, got to sit down for an interview with some pretty cool people. Do you care to share what's coming up?
Yeah, dude, they were pretty cool. Yeah, I sat down with Dan Kwan and Daniel Scheinhardt, better known as Daniels. They are the directing, writing duo behind Everything Everywhere All at Once. I had a great conversation with them about just sort of the creative process of bringing this thing to life. And they answered some questions about the MCU. Well, one question, which was a surprise. It was a surprise for sure. So yeah, you could go check that out. I think by the time this episode drops, it'll be out. So let's go with the safe bet and say it's already out now, and you can go ahead and enjoy it. It is fairly spoiler free, so I think that's a plus too, because we want you to get hyped, because the movie does drop in theaters this Friday, April 8th. It is fantastic. It is, I think, thus far my favorite movie of the year, just because of how inventive it is. So yeah, it was a good time.
Well, it sounds like the perfect thing to listen to maybe on your way back from the theater after seeing this movie when it comes out for wide release on April 8th. I am so I've already got my tickets. I'm so stoked. I cannot wait. Also, keep in mind, we also have our ongoing weekly watch club. Speaking of Moon Knight, for Marvel's Moon Knight, which will be dropping the same night that the show airs on Disney Plus for the next couple weeks. And then we're going to go back to our Friday releases for episodes 4, 5, and 6. But I'm so freaking excited to see where this show goes, especially now that, we're getting into the comics and we're reading a little bit, further in. So I cannot wait to see kind of also just everyone's reaction to the series. Has been really, really neat to kind of be on that side of seeing that ahead of time. So I definitely cannot wait, and you definitely have to check out our watch clubs where we break down everything we loved or maybe didn't love about each episode. So go give those episodes a listen and leave a 5-star review if you don't mind, because we are Geekcentric and you can be too, which means you can also check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/Geekcentric. And if you want to tune in live and keep the conversation going while, watching me do some gaming or opening up some Pokemon cards or just talking crazy stuff about Moon Knight, you can do so over at twitch.tv/NatePlaysGames. You can also follow me on Instagram at NatePlaysGames. Justin, thank you so much for joining me for today's episode. And as we say, love ya.
Peace.